Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Alex, and fall is upon us because it is gloomy as hell outside. This is going to be my second ever tag video because my first one was of course the BookTube newbie tag, and I wasn't tagged by anybody for that because I was just doing an introduction to myself. This time I was actually tagged by Melinda from Melinda at a Web of Stories to do the reader problems tag. This is going to be really fun because there are 11 prompts, and what was so hilarious to me is after all this time of not having ever been tagged by anybody to do a tag video, I got tagged by two people in the same day to do two different tags. So Melinda ended up getting hers in first, which is why I'm doing this one first, and I'll probably end up doing the one from Kat at Kat's Novel Adventures next week. So my first question is, you have 20,000 books on your TBR, how in the world do you decide what to read next? It's different depending on whether you're talking about before or after BookTube. So before BookTube, I wasn't talking with any of you all, I was just looking at my shelves, and I would honestly just go based off of whatever I felt like. I would look at my shelves until I saw something that caught my attention and I went, that's what I'm going to read this month. Now that I'm on BookTube, I've tried to come up with unique ways to choose my TBR, stuff that's fun, right? So I've done like Bourbon Pong and TBR Tarot, stuff that it kind of leaves it up to chance. And what's also been fun is I've been able to engage Keaton to get him to sometimes throw his ideas and his recommendations into the mix, which I've really enjoyed because he has gotten me to read things that I otherwise might not have picked up. The second question is, you're halfway through a book and you're just not loving it. Do you quit or are you committed? That has to be probably one of my most toxic reader traits, is I'm going to keep reading it. I don't put down books unless it is honestly one of the worst things that I have ever read. I can count on one hand. There are exactly 5 books that I have ever just DNF'd outright because I'm like, this is trash. Most of the time I'm going to stick it out because I feel like if I want to give an honest and fair review of a book, I need to know how it ends, because sometimes books really do come through in the second half and it completely changes tone and my feeling about it changes, the star rating changes, and how am I going to know unless I finish it? I do wish that I had it in me to just DNF more books though, and maybe going forward that's something that I could try to do. The third question is, the end of the year is coming and you're so close but so far on your Goodreads reading challenge. Do you try to catch up, and how? Well, that's the position I'm in right now. I started off the beginning of the year wanting to read 42 books. To me, that was not only an attainable goal, but it was reasonable. And it's the month of October and I've only read 26, so I'm pretty far behind. The reason that happened is earlier this year I just had a lot of stuff going on. I had things that were happening with work. In the month of June, my dog Ash ended up passing away, and of course I didn't want to read during that time, so I naturally fell pretty far behind, and I was lucky to even read 2 books in a month earlier on in the year. You can see that if you go and you look back at my older videos. But now that I've really just dove headfirst into BookTube and I'm making regular content and I've made friends on here, I have found that I have a lot more motivation to read than I did earlier on in the year, and I think that that's only going to get better as time goes on as long as I keep making content. So I'm trying to aim to get through my goal at the end of the year. I think that it's possible for me to do it, but I'm gonna have to really work hard. So I'm committing myself to reading at least 5 books in a month if I can help it, and then whatever I need to do in December to give myself that last push, that's probably what I'm going to try to do. Question number 4, the covers of a series you love do not match. How do you cope? So the funny thing about that is I wouldn't cope because I wouldn't buy covers that didn't match. Except in the event, of course, that the publishing company just decided that they were going to change the style of the covers and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. I have yet to run into that problem with any series that I've read. Question number 5, everyone and their mother loves a book you really don't like. Who do you bond with over shared feelings? I have roped Keaton into reading a book before that I really didn't like because I wanted him to see the reasons why I didn't like it, and guess what? He didn't like it either because we have very similar tastes. But I would say for the most part, you're going to find somebody on BookTube who has the same opinion as you. No matter how popular a book is or how popular a series is, there's going to be somebody who doesn't like it. I feel very comfortable expressing that I don't like something because I know at the end of the day that I'm not aiming to offend the people who do, and I think that most people can see that. A perfect example of this is my friend Sabrina from Sabrina Reads and Rambles. She is a huge fan of Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I read that book quite a few years ago and I didn't like it at all, and I put in one of my videos that I didn't like it, but that I didn't have an issue with the people who do like it. Like, there's nothing against you if you're somebody who likes to read books that I don't. And she ended up commenting on my video, and she said, yeah, I could totally understand you not really liking that one. She wrote it when she was really young. You should definitely try some of the books from later on in the series. And I think that that is an excellent way to have a conversation about things that people disagree on. More people should really try to do that. Sabrina, you're great. Okay, question 6 is, you're reading a book and you're about to start crying in public. How do you feel? I hate crying in public. I don't want other people to see me cry. I don't want them questioning about why I'm crying and the speculation. It just does something. I hate it. So I will hold in my tears, which has happened before, and it felt really awful because when I'm reading a sad book and something happens that I really need to cry, I crave the catharsis of just being able to experience that emotion, and when I have to hold it in, it's terrible. So if I'm going to read a sad book, or I know that there could be something that's going to happen that's going to make me sad, I'll just read it at home so I can cry in the comfort of my office and nobody has to see me. Question number 7 is, a sequel of a book you loved just came out, but you've forgotten a lot from the prior novel. Will you reread the book, skip the sequel, try to find a synopsis on Goodreads, or cry in frustration? This is another really bad habit that I have with my reading, and it's something that I'm actively trying to work on. So I have noticed I have an issue with series. What'll happen is I'll read the first book in a series and I'll think, wow, that was really great, but I want to have some sort of palate cleanser in between, because in my experience, when I read books back to back from a series, I don't ever like the second book as much as I did the first one. Like, I have to have a palate cleanser, but there's this really sweet spot of time, if you will, from reading the first book to where then I need to read the sequel. Otherwise, I just don't read the sequel and it sits there, sometimes for years. A perfect example of this would be Leviathan Wakes from the Expanse series. So I have Caliban's War, which is the second book, on my e-reader. I got it very shortly after I got the first book. Still haven't read it. And I know now that I have to go back and reread Leviathan Wakes, and I've roped Keaton into wanting to read it with me, so we're probably going to do a buddy read, which will help a lot. And I'll do my best once I restart the series again from the beginning to continue on, even if I have to have that palate cleanser somewhere in the middle. Okay, question number 8 is, you do not want anyone borrowing your books. How do you politely tell people nope when they ask? So I definitely am one of those people that doesn't enjoy other people borrowing my books, except Keaton, because of course we live in the same household and I know that it's going to come back in good condition. The way that I've gotten around this is, if I know that I have a book that I really love and somebody else wants to read that book, I will just buy them a copy of it and let them have that. Because I know that they're going to love it, and I know that they're probably going to want to keep their copy, so we might as well both just have a copy. Question number 9 is, you've picked up and put down 5 books in the last month. How do you get over your reading slump? That is not how I have a reading slump, because, again, I don't DNF books. So what'll happen for me when I'm in a slump is I will pick up one book and then it takes me forever to read it. Like, it's the slowest, most painful process ever. And that happened to me. First thing this year, very first book I picked up. I hated it with the core of my being, and it took me forever to read. So really the only way that I can deal with that, if I'm not going to DNF books, is I have to force myself to get through it and then pick up a book from a series that I know that I really love. So Discworld by Terry Pratchett, perfect example, because all of the books are standalone. Like, some of them are tied in with characters from other books, but each book can be read independently. And I know that those are books guaranteed that I'm going to really enjoy. So if I've just had a miserable experience, I'm going to read Terry Pratchett. Question number 10, there are so many new books coming out that you're dying to read. How many do you actually buy? Well, right now, none. I have not bought a book since June, which has been very difficult because I cannot remember the last time in my life that I went a month without buying at least one book. So if I wasn't in a no-buy year, I probably would end up buying 2 to 3 books a month that I really wanted. I would buy more if a new bookstore opened, and I know that for a fact because that happened this year. I went to the grand opening of a local bookstore, and I, of course, wanted to patronize. I wanted to give them business, so I bought like 4 books at once, one visit, and I think I bought like another 2 to 3 the second visit there. I couldn't help it. But yeah, I haven't bought a book since June. Please send help. Okay, so this is the last question. It's kind of a bonus question, and it says, after you've bought the new books you can't wait to get to, how long do they sit on your shelves before you get to them? Oh, I don't want to admit the answer to this, because I have some books that have been on my shelves for many years that I just haven't gotten to. And it's because I have so many books on my TBR, and when I'm in a year like the one that I'm having right now, where 6 months went by and I was able to read maybe 2 books a month, the number of books that I was buying was outpacing the books that I was reading, which is honestly the worst thing. And that's what got me into my no buying books for an entire year, because I was like, this isn't sustainable. If I want to actually get to these books I'm excited about, I have to quit buying them. So some of these books I've had since I was a teenager, and other ones I bought earlier on this year. I'm doing my best. And with that, that is the end of my reader problems tag. So this is the point in the video when I get to tag other people, and I have 2 people that I'm going to tag. So first is going to be Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures, and the second is Sabrina from Sabrina Reads and Rambles. So look forward to hearing what your answers are, and if you all have any thoughts or feelings about my answers to these questions, please leave them down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, that you all stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.